Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. Here we go. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. A lot of boxing fans are getting frustrated with Gervonta Davis. And they are demanding that Gervonta Davis fights. Let me click on something here for you. Stiffer competition. Now, when I say stiffer competition, that means they don't want him fighting a Kambosos Jr. Frank Martin is a step in the right direction, but they don't want him in here fighting Zaire Abdullah, a Maxie Hughes. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to see those fights. They want one fight they would accept for a guy who's kind of building his record, but he had a stellar amateur background, is Andy Cruz. But they really want to see Tank fight the Devin Haney's, the Teofimo Lopez's, the Shakir Stevenson, maybe a rematch with Ryan Garcia at 140. Maybe go up to 140, fight a Suber or Matias. Bottom line is they want to see him in some fights to where they can really get the juices flowing and be excited about Tank being in a fight where they feel is 50-50 and don't know which direction it's going to go. So what they were recommending is for Tank Davis to no longer listen to his handlers. His handlers meaning Al Heyman, Ellaby, Floyd Mayweather, and the like. Now, when I was sitting here listening to this conversation, I was like, you know what? You want Tank, okay, to just stop listening to his handlers because you as a fan want to see Tank lose, I guess? Or you say you want to see him get tested. But you got to understand, Tank isn't ducking anyone out here. They've got the blueprint on how to make a whole lot of money now with very little risk. And I'll be honest with you, as a boxing fan, I'm like, I would like to see him get in there with some of those names I just mentioned. But as a guy who's 48 years old, that's all about working smart, not hard. You know, I got to be real. I'm like, they've got a winning recipe. They're robbing the bank. Go all the way. But understand this, when people start saying Tank is ducking, right? Let me explain something to you. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let me show you something. Here we go. When we start saying, put this above that. There we go. When we start saying Tank is ducking, you know, that's where we have a bit of a problem, with me anyway. You look at Shakir, he's fighting Frank Martin. Look at the rest of these guys here at 135. But if you bubble up to 140, right? Look at these names. They want to say Frank is ducking them. Tank is ducking them. No, he's not. Tank is one of like 4 of the faces of boxing who can pick and choose who they want to fight and who's going to do great when it comes to pay-per-view performance. You have Tank, you have Canelo, you have Ryan Garcia, Tyson Fury, maybe Anthony Joshua. Okay? Now that's just being real. So he's not ducking. But at the same time, when a person says Teo's ducking Tank, Devin's ducking Tank, Shakir Stevenson is ducking Tank. Let me scroll down here. You know, I don't agree with that. Here we go. When you say these guys are ducking Tank, I don't agree with that. What I think is happening is the B-side fighter, and this is just how I see it. In this instance, the B-side fighter wants to fight the A-side fighter, and the A-side fighter being Tank Davis, right? But the B-side fighter have no say. They can't make the fight happen. Tank picks and chooses who he wants to fight. So if you're chasing after Tank, you can say what you want. You can offer him an enormous amount of money. And if he says, you know what, I don't want to fight that person, it doesn't matter because Tank does what he wants. But this is why people are saying in order for Tank to make what they consider would be some of the biggest fights in boxing, he needs to stop listening to Al Heyman. And the reason they're saying that is because Terrence Crawford finally got the biggest fight of his career after he got away from Top Rank and stopped listening to Bob Arum, right? Because Bob Arum back then was saying, look, Crawford's making great money, I'm losing money. But even before Bob Arum started talking about the money he was losing, he was just saying how Crawford is good, his time will come, just keep winning, he's making good money. Basically saying, look, you're comfortable. You're comfortable. You're getting 3 meals a day. What you want 5, 6 meals for, or to eat when you want. We're going to make sure you have 3 meals a day and a couple snacks in between. Be grateful that you have something to eat. It's kind of how Bob Arum was approaching those guys. But when Terrence Crawford got away from him, you saw what happened. Made the biggest fight of his career. And the same with Earl Spence. When he stopped listening to his handlers, Al Heyman and whoever else, he got the biggest fight of his career against Terrence Crawford. It took Terrence Crawford and it took Earl Spence to stop listening to their handlers and to do things on their own and hold their position in order to make the biggest fight in boxing happen. And the same for Gervonta Davis. He needs to do the same thing. But there's a big difference here. Big difference. You know what the difference is? Crawford wanted to fight Spence. You know what the difference is? Spence wanted to fight Crawford. They made huge money. You know, when you look at Tank Davis, he doesn't really care to fight any of those guys. You know why? Because he can fight anybody and make the kind of money they made. I'm telling you the fact. I'm not making this up. So as far as fans out here demanding, underscoring Gervonta, Abdul Wahid, Tank Davis to not listen to his handlers, man, good luck with that. Because I just don't see Tank going out here and taking it to the stupid and deciding he's going to go against what they're advising him. Because right now it looks like he's going the right direction. He fights who he wants. Do I think he'll fight Haney? Yeah. Do I think he'll fight Shakir? Yeah. Will he fight Teofimo? Yeah. You got to remember, these guys have all sparred already. A lot of sparring. You think Tank doesn't know what they bring to the table? You think they don't know what Tank brings to the table? But first thing is first. Tank's got to get through Frank Martin. Now, if he can get through Frank Martin, which I don't think that's an easy fight, but if Tank gets through Frank Martin, I mean, you got to move up the ladder. You can't reverse, right? So since Tank is saying he's staying at 135, let me just stretch this all the way across for you, because the ring lightweight champion is vacant. If Tank gets past Frank Martin, he's staying at 135, right? I guess we got to take a look at Tank being the WBA champion. He got to look at Zepeda. He got to look at De Los Santos. He got Floyd Schofield. That's really what Tank is up against. Now they may make an exception, unification against Shakir Stevenson. Not really sure what's going to happen between the WBO and IBF at 135. Kambosos and Lomachenko are supposed to get busy for the IBF. I think Baranchek and somebody's supposed to get busy for the WBO. Bottom line is, if he's not going to unify at 135, he's going to have to look to fight one of these guys here in the top 5. And I would think the next one would be Zepeda, since he's the mandatory. And if Zepeda does something different, because Zepeda's the number one, look at this shit. Zepeda's the number 1 in the WBA, number 1 in the WBC, number 1 in the IBF, number 2 in the WBO. Zepeda is on his way, you know. We just got to wait and see what happens. But in my opinion, the difference with Crawford and Spence fighting each other is they wanted to. And they weren't going to listen to what, Papa Al had to say. Crawford got the hell away from Top Rank and did what he wanted to do. Gervonta Davis isn't desperate to fight anybody for a huge payday, because anyone he fights, he makes that kind of money. And he can pick and choose who he wants. And he's doing that with less than half the fights of Canelo. So, look, Gervonta Davis is that guy. Is he the face of American boxing? I don't know about that. But he's one of the pay-per-view stars. There's only like 5, in my opinion. Fury, AJ, Canelo, I would throw Ryan in there, and Tank. But it is what it is. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. Gervonta's looking good. He's in shape. Still hasn't announced the fight with Frank Martin, which I think is odd. I really don't understand that. But the bottom line is he's getting in shape for somebody. Where it is Frank Martin. Don't know why they haven't done any press conferences or really come out and talked about it. But when the news hits, shit's gonna catch like wildfire. Everybody gonna go crazy. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm about to go run some errands in the breeze.